morning. Good morning, everybody. Bonjour, sabah al khair, assalamu alaikum. Okay, I was telling Wissam, since we're short on attendees, we could talk to the hotel manager to send some of his staff here. I hate to see some empty chairs. And that excuse of getting late because of traffic doesn't weigh in with me, to be honest with you. Anyway, okay. Thank you, Wissam. Thanks for the UAB for holding this event. And let me tell you how impressed I am by the several functions that's being organized and held by the Union of Arab Banks. With special credit to Wissam, he's been a very dynamic and very energetic person, and very happy to be in Brussels, although the weather is not on our side, but we can live with some rain, okay, which I personally miss in Lebanon. We don't see much rain anymore, so it's good for a change. This initiative, which has been talked about for quite some time, is the EU-MENA private sector dialogue. It's an overdue initiative, given the history of Europe and the MENA region, the Arab world. Okay, it's a very intertwined history that's full of good and bad, full of ups and downs. The fact remains that Europe and the Middle East, the MENA region, are contiguous, and they stand to be affected by whatever takes place on either side. Okay, if look at the current history, well, if we look at the Middle East and Europe as I speak today, okay, they are too much intertwined together, and and the impact of the events that take place and been taking place in the MENA region have a lot of effects on Europe. It cuts deep, not only on political levels in Europe, but also social. We've all been watching the news, you know, on what goes on in Germany and other places when it comes to the refugees that are coming mostly from Syria and other parts of the world as well. So there is interest on both sides to work very closely on all fronts, okay? Political, social, economic, banking, and what have you. So this is our belief, and this is the belief of the UAB. Okay. So the initiative calls for a continuous dialogue on a banking level, because that's basically what we do. I mean, we do banking. That's our bread and butter. And we have come up with a similar initiative with the American side, and it's been a relative success. I wouldn't call it an absolute success, but it's been a relative success, and it has really helped going forward with doing banking on both sides of the ocean. The sexy word among bankers, be it the Middle East, the US, Europe, anywhere else, okay, is de-risking. De-risking, whereby banks, big banks, have been shying away from doing business with some banks or with some regions, okay, for apparently good reasons. And this de-risking weighs in negatively on banks, talking about respondent banks, and on the MENA region in particular. what can we do as bankers from both sides, from the Arab side, from the European side? So that's what this initiative that's being thought out with the UAB and kicked in by the UAB helps in. So this initiative, which calls for continuous dialogue between banks from the Arab side and the European side, okay, helps in consolidating and moving forward in doing business on a banking front. We understand and admit that things are never been straightforward. Things happen. The Middle East area is going through big turmoil. So there are a lot of risks, but on the other hand, there are a lot of opportunities where people can really make good money. There are differences in between the two sides on banking and non-banking as well, including cultural. So this initiative tries to bridge the gap, whatever gap exists in between the two sides, be it social, cultural, banking, and so forth. But on the other hand, there's a lot of commonality in doing banking between the two sides, or on each side. We all prescribe to the international standards, the Basel prescriptions, all that is related, be it in terms of capital adequacy ratios, governance, and so forth. So there's a lot of commonality in doing banking between Europe and the Middle East. We need to bridge the gap. We need to understand one another in a better fashion. We need to sit and talk, okay? So there is no substitute to dialogue. The substitute to dialogue is a continuous misunderstanding and therefore failure of doing business. Therefore, in conclusion, I would call on every member of the Arab side, particularly through the UAB, and on the European side, okay, to sit and talk our differences and try to come up with good resolutions that are of mutual benefit to both sides. I am very grateful, Wissam, with co-leading this initiative, okay, and I will make myself available and do my best, okay, of course, but doing my best is not enough. What is needed really is everyone to chip in and make this initiative a success. I conclude my words in saying thank you so much and God bless you all.